Welcome to the first episode for the Cowboys report, which will be every single week after every single game of the season. I was kind of dreading doing this episode the last couple of days. Obviously, if you watch football and you know what happened on Sunday night, then you would know why I would feel like that. Obviously we're gonna do it every single week, like I said. And this is the first episode. I think I did maybe one or two in the off season, kind of talking about some moves that were made, some outlooks about going into this season. But I'll just quickly touch on my thoughts going into the season the last couple of weeks, because I don't think I recorded a Cowboys episode for at least like a month or two. So some time had passed, and obviously as the season's about to start, those are your final thoughts. So going into the season, we're not as good as we were last year. Okay, that's not. I don't think that's really saying anything. I think most people have said that. I think a lot of people have said that. So my expectations weren't as high as they were. Even last year, I didn't have the highest expectations for this team because, going to last year, the defense was the biggest question. Obviously, you draft Micah Parsons, your defense gets a lot better. So going into even last year, I was expecting us to still be a good team, but I didn't think that we would, win the division, have 12 wins. Obviously, we lose in the wild card round, but we still outperformed my expectations by, for sure a good amount. But going into this season, with the losses in the offseason and the changes that were kind of made throughout the team and not really adding a lot of players that, it seemed like we had holes on. And, as I'll talk about later in this episode, it was pretty evident that those holes that we had throughout the offseason really showed out big time. Again, prime time Sunday night game at home. It really showed when you watch that game. So again, some of those guys that we lost, wide receiver wise, Amari Cooper, we trade. Michael Gallup, he tore his ACL in like week 15, week 16 last year. So, he wasn't going to be available for the first game. He's still not available. He's probably going to miss probably a couple more games. He should be back maybe in like a month or so, I would assume. But again, he's not there. On the offensive line, Lyle Collins, he's gone. He went to Cincinnati. Tyron Smith, this happened probably about a month ago by now, maybe 3 weeks ago. He tore his quad up, so he's out. They said maybe he can return in December. We'll see what happens, but if anything, he's out for the majority of the games. He maybe can come back for the last couple of games, but that's basically a season-ending injury for a Hall of Famer, still a Pro Bowl caliber player for sure. So you lose him as well. So that, just think of those pieces right there. That's four guys on your offense who were for sure starters and, Pro Bowl level type guys. And they're all gone. At least, two of them are off the team. And then, one was obviously injured, or two, and then the other two were injured. So those are big losses. That's not an understatement. You can't just look past that and be like, well, the team is still good enough. We still have a lot of other players. Those guys are huge parts of our team. Your left tackle, two of your top three receivers, and even though your right tackle is not the most important position, and Lyle didn't have a great year last year, he's still a good player, and he's still, obviously, if he's playing, that means Terrence Steele, who's now the starting right tackle, that's your swing tackle. So it's just, that's depth right there. That's just like being better. You're better as a unit when all those guys are there. So if you do lose one or two of those guys, your unit's going to get worse. And that's a problem. So, those were the holes that were coming in. On the defensive side, we lost Randy Gregory on the defensive line. I think that did matter a little bit because him and Lawrence on each side with Micah, coming down the middle, on the edge, wherever he was going to come from, it just opens up so much space. And I still think the defense is going to be fine. It's still a good defense, in my opinion. I don't think this defense got dramatically worse, maybe just a little bit, but I really don't think it didn't really get that much worse. We did get a couple other guys that we did sign, even if they're not big time free agents or guys that can truly make a difference on this team. I think that they are valuable pieces, and again, they just need to do their job and then let the guys who, the stars on this defense like Lawrence, Parsons, and Diggs make the plays and do what they have to do. So I wasn't really worried about the defensive side. It was mostly the offensive side. And again, we trade Cooper, who Cowboys fans, they love him, they hate him, whatever, but you can't deny that maybe he wasn't that go-to number one receiver. At times he played like that, and when he first came over in 2018, he was for sure that. But since then he's been hit or miss, to be honest. And I always like Cooper, but there's definitely times where he disappears. And was that a product of the offense, or was that just a product of him truly not being that that elite wide receiver? He still is probably a wide receiver one with a quarterback like Dak, like a top 10ish quarterback, but him by himself, there's guys like Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, like those guys are number one wide receivers, and Cooper's just not on that level. Even when he's fully healthy and he does have a good quarterback, he's still not on that level. So, I don't know what Cowboys fans expected. I think they thought a lot of him, which I think you should, because again, he was the 4th overall pick in the draft. So you obviously expected big things from him, but he definitely was like that at the beginning, and then it seemed like injuries kind of slowed him down. I think the offense just was always in a rut at times. But again, even if he wasn't amazing last year, but he was still really solid. He still had good stats. So to lose a guy like that, which obviously moves CeeDee Lamb up your depth chart, and I'll just touch on him just quickly. Like, we get him 17th overall, 18th overall, whatever it was, in the draft a couple years ago, and it seemed like a steal. I mean, in college he was amazing in college. He was a great college player. Just seemed like he could make every catch. Anytime the ball got in his hands, he was just making plays with. I think I remember like the Texas game when Oklahoma played Texas. I'm not the biggest college football fan, but I feel like I do remember this play where, I don't know I forget how many yards they were out, maybe like 60 yards, whatever. But, he got like a 15-yard pass, and he just made a play out of it and scored a touchdown. Just ran, past guys, juked guys, got past, used his speed. He's not the fastest guy, but he has a lot of quickness and acceleration when he has the ball. So, and then he, goes down the sideline, gets a touchdown. So it's just, when we got him there in 2020, it just seemed like, oh, we have Cooper, we have Gallup, and we have Lamb. Like, how can this not be one of the best receiving trios in the league? And at times it was, and at times it wasn't. But, you really needed Lamb to be that, like, you needed him to ascend to that number one position. And his first year was okay. Obviously, Dak got injured that year, so it was hard to truly judge him on that, based on that year. But he showed some flashes, definitely showed some not so great stuff with a lot of the drops. But then going into last year, again, you expected more. Now Dak's back. Lamb had a year. Gallup and Cooper are still there. So that's where the year you really want to see him like really excel. And as we saw with other guys in that draft, like Justin Jefferson, like he's a top 5 wide receiver in the league right now. You cannot say the same about CeeDee Lamb. So not that you would have taken Jefferson over Lamb in the draft, as Jefferson did go a couple picks later. You would have taken Lamb, but you would have loved to see Lamb already be on that type of level right now. Maybe if it's on top 5, maybe it's top 7, top 8. You'd love to see him there, and he's just not there. It's a problem because, like, going into this year, he needed to be that guy. Like, Justin Jefferson's that guy for the Vikings. Like, he's their number one option. Thielen's, he's been injured. He's getting older. He's not as good as he was. It's Jefferson, and as we saw in week 1, he had 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, that's what you need Lamb to be. And again, is that possibly a product of the offense and the schemes that we run? Potentially. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest. I feel like he's just not that type of receiver, to be honest. The drops are still an issue, as we saw on Sunday night. He had one drop on 3rd down. I think he may have had another one. And I know, on this team currently, how it's built right now, he's the only guy who's going to pose a threat on the outside. So, yeah, you could have a safety over the top. You can, kind of lean coverage to him a little bit more, so it's going to be harder to get the ball to him. I understand that, obviously. But, like, the best receivers, like the guys who will end up being elite or even just really good, like, they can still get open. They can still get the ball. They can still make plays. And for him, that just hasn't been the case. It really just hasn't. And it's, and now with, I guess I'll talk about the game just after this, but, like, we really need to see that for the rest of the season, because you're going to have a problem. If he has, a year like last year where, yeah, his stats may look like decent, but there's, if you look game by game, there was a lot of games where he had one catch, two catches, maybe 30 yards this game. A couple good games, but never like truly like monster games where he's going like 10 catches, 150 yards and a touchdown or something like that. If he's another like decent year and the stats look okay at the end of the year, you do have a question and a problem, to be honest, going into his fourth season. Like, what do you do with the contract situation with him? Wise, obviously he's a first round pick, so you can, you could franchise him, which I wouldn't be surprised if at some point, obviously they do. But there's for sure questions with him going into, with how he plays the rest of the season, and that's only going to be more problematic because now Dak Prescott. Again, if you watch Sunday night, you know, but, he basically at the end of the game, to be honest, he injures his hand, breaks it, whatever he does. They thought it was going to be 6 to 8 weeks, so he'd go on IR, but now they're saying that he should only miss 4 games. So they're not going to put him on IR because that means that you're guaranteed to miss 4 games and you can't practice, you can't go to team meetings, can't do like anything you would normally do if you were, on the roster and playing. So they're not going to put him on IR. So that's good. That's the good news, is that hopefully that means maybe if he has good healing, just good, therapy, good, training to get back to being at least somewhat full strength with that thumb. And again, it is his thumb, his right thumb on his throwing hand. So that's obviously, a problem because, he throws the ball with his right hand. But it's at least a good sign that he's able to not go on IR and he could practice, he could be with the team, he could travel with the team as well, because, with Cooper Rush now being our quarterback, he's going to need all the mentoring that he can get from Dak, just being on the sidelines, being in team meetings, being in personnel meetings. That's huge for a guy like that, especially, he had the one start last year against the Vikings and we did win that game. But now it's going to be, again, at least 4 games, maybe even 5. We don't exactly know right now. In a couple weeks, we'll know when Dak will be back. But, that's guys will have more tape on you. They'll know how to game plan you more. It's just like the defenses are really smart. Teams are really smart. They'll know how to, figure game plans out to stop you and just to make your life way more difficult. And with the team currently constructed how it is, it's way more difficult than it was last year. Because again, like those guys I just said that left, all those guys played in that game last year. None of them are playing in these next 4 games. So you don't have those guys. So the offensive line's worse. The receiving core is worse. Running back wise, you're still decent, but if that's the strongest part of your team, then teams are just going to stack the box against you. So definitely a lot of questions going to these next couple weeks. This is why I dreaded this episode, because just after 1 week, there's just a million questions that won't even be close to being answered for who knows how long. So that was just a little bit kind of off-season stuff going to the season, what I expected. I guess I didn't really exactly say my expectation, but it was to be a little bit worse than last year. The Eagles got better. So if everyone, assuming Dak didn't get injured in week 1, I was probably assuming they'd probably be around that 10-win range, 10-7, maybe 11-6, and, make the playoffs again. Again, the NFC is worse than it even was last year. So, I expected them to make the playoffs. But right now, I don't think that's a true expectation anymore. I don't think you could say that. Unless somehow these next 4 games we can go 3-1, which, maybe, who knows, but I don't see that happening, to be honest. But yeah, now after 1 week, you can kind of say that any hope for a playoff spot, again, it's still there. Yeah, I'm not going to rule them out. It's 1 week, but it's just not looking good. You definitely can say that it's not looking good for them to make the playoffs right now, currently. But again, that could change. You win next week, you're 1-1. You're just like a lot of other teams. So what can I really say? But you have to win next week. That's the only problem. But talking about the game, I'll talk about next week's game at the end of the episode. But just going into this game against the Bucs. So a rematch of last year's first week when we played the Bucs in Tampa. This one was in Dallas. I wish we looked like last year's team in the game that we had, but that was sadly not the case. We lost 19-3, and after the 9-minute and 2-second mark of the first quarter, we honestly never came close to scoring again, which is pretty sad to say, to be honest. The fact that I think we got over midfield maybe like once or twice after that, but nothing looked nothing looked like a real offense. Again, that was with Dak playing. That's when everyone was playing. We did lose Connor McGovern. He had a high ankle sprain. He missed. I think he got injured in the first quarter, so he's gonna be out for a couple weeks. Jaron Curse, he's out for a couple weeks with a sprained MCL. So again, those are another key injuries. Again, offensive line. McGovern. He was kind of like a backup, but he would start sometimes last year. We let go of Connor Williams, who was honestly awful. Everyone knows that if you're a Cowboys fan. He's on the Dolphins now, so McGovern was going to be that starter at left guard, and now he's already injured. So again, that's even more depth that you have to figure out how to go about it. So, and again, if another offensive lineman gets injured, it's even more questions. But that's we'll wait for that to happen. But after that first drive, where the offense, at least it didn't look amazing, but we ran the ball pretty decently on that first drive. We tried some trick play. The one thing I'll say is I hate when we do trick plays because they seem to never work, to be honest. We tried to do a couple like end arounds. We did a wildcat formation with Pollard. Just those just don't work for us. Like, there's some teams where those plays work almost every single time. You watch any Sunday, and it just seems like, you're watching Red Zone, and they cut to a highlight from a game, and it just seems to work. It just does. I don't know why, but it works for a lot of teams. And for us, I've been watching this team for how many years? And ever since Kellen Moore's been the OC, the last 3-4 years, those plays just don't work for us. They just don't. So I hate that we try and do that, especially, like, I'll pull the exact play up, but it was, we ran the ball, so first play of the game, 7-yard pass, then 7-yard run for Zeke. So, that's 2 7-yard plays right there. It's already 14 yards, 2 plays. I would have taken that the rest of the game, to be honest. But the next play, we try to do this end around with Pollard where we're lateraling it and doing whatever. I don't know what we were doing, and we lose 8 yards. Come on. You can't, you're moving, just run the ball normally. We just got 7 yards on that first play, on that first running play. Why wouldn't you just try and do that again or do a play action? We're so good in play action. I don't know why we just don't do that. Rather run the ball, and then if you are beating them running the ball, or they try to put a stop to it, get another guy in the box, try and, maybe it's not working for 1 or 2 plays, then do the play action. We're so good at play action. I don't know why we don't do that more. And we do it a lot, but I think we should do it more. Honestly, it works, and especially if you can run the ball, that's where it works the most. And running the ball is definitely a question for us. I think that we should run the ball more. And Zeke's not the guy that he once was. His offensive line was not what it once was. But if you could just keep a defense honest with you running the ball, then why wouldn't you do that? Because I think we can run the ball at least decently. Maybe not the best in the league, for sure not. Maybe not even top 10. But if we could at least keep the defense back on their heels and not just know that we're not going to run the ball at all, or when we do have success with the running the ball, we just go away from it for some reason, I think we should just be a pounded ground team. Just try and do that. Why not? You might as well, especially now with Cooper Rush at quarterback and you have no receivers, you might as well just try and run the ball. And obviously the defenses know that, but the good teams like the Niners and the Ravens, I know they Lamar Jackson, but they run the ball. Philly, they run the ball. And every team knows they're going to run the ball, but they still do it, and they still get 5-6 yards a carry. So I don't really understand why we can't do that. Because I think, Zeke, he looked good. I thought he looked healthy. I thought he looked, he lost some weight, obviously. It seems to be every offseason he loses weight. But I thought he looked pretty good, physically wise, and he was running the ball pretty hard. Again, we went away from it, even though the score was never really out of hand at any point. We just decided not to run the ball, which, again, it seems to happen a lot, and I don't truly understand it because I think it does work. But I hope that going in the future, in these next couple of weeks, we start running the ball more. I think that's the way that you have to do it, because passing the ball just isn't going to work right now. You have to keep a defense honest, and then you can pass the ball. It opens up the outside way more when a lot of guys are thinking it's going to be a running play. It just does. So I hope to see that going forward. But like I said, after that -8 yard end around thing to Pollard, we get 11 yards. Then we get 16 yards. We're moving the ball. Then Zeke gets a 6-yard run. Zeke gets another 5-yard run. That's moving the ball. That's consistently moving the ball and getting at least 5 yards every single play. You can't be mad about that. Then we settle for the field goal there, and like I said, those were the last 3 points. So the only 3 points that we've scored. We were the only team in the NFL throughout the first week to not score a touchdown. And we led the league in points. We led the league in yards last year. So that's just not a great sign. And again, with no Dak, I'm not really expecting a lot more touchdowns in week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. So, yeah, that's obviously not something you want to see, not something you want to hear from someone saying that, but, that's probably going to be the case. But the rest of the game, I can't say that, obviously I was upset, I was frustrated, everything like that with how the game played out. But I honestly look at the offensive side of the ball on all of it. I think the defense played really well. I think they played great, to be honest. I don't think they had a bad game at all. And I haven't seen anyone been saying that. It's not like anyone's been saying that the defense played bad, because they didn't. They played great. And the situations that they were put in, with Tampa having almost always really good field position, because again, we were going 3 and out basically every possession. So they were getting the ball, and they're 30, anywhere from their 25 to their 40-yard line, I would say, they were getting the ball. And our defense held pat every single time. Only allowing field goals, only 1 touchdown they allowed, which, that was after we went 5 plays, 10 yards. Obviously that's a great drive right there. First drive out of halftime, and that's what we do. So they do get the touchdown, which, they probably should have gotten maybe one other one. But again, our defense was bending, but it wasn't breaking up until that point. And a lot of that credit, almost all that credit, to be honest, goes to Micah Parsons. 2 times they had the ball in the red zone, both on 3rd down, back-to-back drives, actually. And one of them actually resulted in a missed field goal for them. And the other one, they did convert on that field goal, and they did score. So the first one, it's 6-3 Tampa, and it's 7 minutes 30 seconds left in the second quarter. They have a pretty decent. They have a long drive, but it's only for 43 yards. There was a 12-play drive for 7 minutes, but they only went 43 yards. But they get all the way down to our 8-yard line, and then 3rd and 5. And again, the guy who's going to win Defensive Player of the Year, especially with the news of T.J. Watt now being out for 6 weeks, at least 6 weeks. Mike is going to win it. I don't think there's a question about that. Right now, I would have picked him before the season anyways, and I think now with Watt being injured, that was his biggest competition. I guess you could say Donald's in there. Maybe someone random comes out of somewhere, but it's probably going to be Micah, to be honest. And on 3rd and 5, he gets a sack. Of course, when we need a big play, he's always going to make that big play. And to start the game, he was playing linebacker, rushing the passer a little bit, but he was honestly playing linebacker mostly. And then they put him, when they knew that we needed a big play to happen, they put him at defensive end, and that's where he got his 2 sacks from. And again, that's where it's hard because you can't just play him at defensive end every single snap, because he's a linebacker and he is good in coverage, and he's good against the run because he's so quick and sideline to sideline. But when he's a defensive end, he can get by the guy anytime he wants, and you saw that happen. He got by anyone he wanted. He had a couple more hits. I think he had 2 quarterback hits, obviously other than the 2 sacks. And I think the rest of the team combined had I think the rest of the team combined had 2 or 3 quarterback hits. So he was basically our whole defensive pressure on Brady the entire game. And then obviously after that sack, pushing them back 10 yards. They only had a 36-yard field goal, but they missed. Which again, that point seemed like a big miss, because it was 6-3. Looked like they were probably going to score a touchdown, to be honest. They settle for field goal. They miss. We get the ball back, and we throw an interception. So Dak gets picked by Antoine Winfield at our 38-yard line, but they return it for 15 yards. So they're at our 23-yard line right now. That's just such a momentum swing, because at that point, the offense wasn't looking great, but it was still early on. It was still the first half. You get that big momentum sack right there. They missed the field goal, even more momentum going your way. If you can turn that into just points, it doesn't have to be a touchdown. Even a field goal ties the game right there. That's huge. And also, field position obviously changes. You're kicking off to them. They're going to start at the 20, 25-yard line. But instead, we throw the pick. So they get the ball, basically right in the red zone. And then again, it looks like they're going to score. They're at a 4-yard line, 3rd and 3, and then Mikey gets another sack. 7-yard sack. So they have to settle for another field goal. They do make it, but again, for them to be inside our 8-yard line twice in back-to-back drives and only get 3 points, that's a huge win. I mean, you're still only down 6 points at this time. And there's 3 minutes and 25 seconds left on the clock. I mean, you could put up basically a 2-minute drill to end the half and at least get points. And then you're right in the game. You're right there. It's 9-6 if you get a field goal, or you could even take the lead if you get a touchdown and it's 10-9. In a first half where you should never have the lead if they did end up getting a touchdown there, and you would go into halftime with a 1-point lead. I mean, that's all in the offense. It just is. I mean, if you just look at the play-by-play in each drive for the Cowboys, it's after the field goal, it's 3 plays, 2 yards, 3 plays, 6 yards, 3 plays, interception, 5 plays, 13 yards, and then the last drive of the first half was they need the ball. So obviously nothing there, but Tampa did get after we punted, after they made it 9-3, they did get the ball back. They went down, got another field goal with 20 seconds left. So it's 12-3 at half. Again, the game is not even close to being over. If you can make changes on your offense, adjust to what they're doing on defense and put that into effect going into the second half, then you're right back in this game. You can win this game. And we do get a stop coming out of halftime. Tampa goes 3-and-out, and we get I guess they got one first down on the first play, but then basically went 3-and-out. They punted back to us. And what do you know? First 2 plays of that drive, 6-yard run, 7-yard run. It's just like, I think they should be running the ball more. I think Zeke looked really good. And you just got to run behind Zach Martin. He's a Hall of Famer. He's the best. He's in my opinion, he's the best guard in football. You can maybe even, I know tackle is obviously the most important position, but you can make the case that he is the best offensive lineman in football, even for a guard. So that's just how good he is. And I think that right side is more of your strength in terms of blocking, run blocking for sure. The left side's a little bit weak in terms of run blocking. We'll see what happens for this next matchup against the Bengals. But I think you should definitely be running it on that right side with Zeke and Pollard. But I think Zeke's trying to should get more of the carries, to be honest, especially with the way that he looked in that first game. But then after that, again, stop him coming out of halftime, and then we go 5 plays, 10 yards, punt. Then that's when they get their touchdown. Again, you can't fault the defense for that. They were bending as much as they could without breaking, and they finally cracked, and the Bucs got a touchdown. And those are the last points of the game. It was 19-3 at that point with 3 minutes and 23 seconds left in the third quarter, and there's no more points the rest of the way. We went 9 plays, 34 yards, turned it over on downs. We did pick off Brady the next drive by Donovan Wilson. That was a great play. Again, that could have been momentum changing. You get a touchdown there. It's 19-10. We started that drive off at the 50-yard line, so easily our best field position of the game so far. And we go 3 plays, 2 yards, punt. It just, you just gotta get a first down there. You gotta do something there. You have to do something there. And we can't do anything. So at that point, I kind of knew the game was over. The way that our offense was looking, I kind of knew the game was over anyways, but at that point, that's when I knew the game was over. When you finally get the turnover, you finally have good field position, and you can only get 2 yards, and then the game was over at that point. They punted, we turned it over on downs the next drive. They punted, we turned it over on downs again. And then Dak got injured on, I think it was the drive, the second to last turnover on downs is when he got injured. So, not great, obviously, that late in the ball game it just sucks that it was that late in the ball game. Like, we were so close to the game being over and, him obviously not being injured if the game was over. And, at that point, it's more so after the fact that I saw the people on Twitter and everything talking about, a lot of people don't like Dak as the quarterback. I like him. Again, is he one of the best quarterbacks in the league? No. But is he a solid quarterback and someone that you can win games with and potentially win a Super Bowl with? I think for sure. I do like Dak, and I know a lot of people who don't. And a lot of people were blaming him for how they were playing. And he's the quarterback. He's going to take the brunt of that. And he didn't play well. But did he have any help Did his offensive line give him any protection in the pocket? No. Did his receivers have any separation on their DBs? Not even close. Drops against CeeDee Lamb had a drop. Like, those, like, you can't make, when you're already not a great team, you can't make mistakes like that, and you have to almost play perfect football. And again, you played a team that wasn't even playing that well. They really didn't play that well. Like, I don't know if the Bucs would have beaten many other teams in Week 1 with how they played, to be honest. The only good thing the Bucs did was running the ball, which they did gash us for a lot. I think they got like 150 total. So that does need to be cleaned up. But they were more so attacking the left side of so they were running the ball left. So if you were on defense, it was our right side. That's where they were killing us for yards. I think they even showed the stat during the game. Like, I can't exactly remember how many it was, but it was like at least 80 to 90% of their yards were to the left side. Again, the defense's right side. So that's obviously needs to be a problem that needs to be cleaned up, of course, because the last time we played, last year in 2021, we got killed with the ball on the ground against the Niners. So I thought the run defense was better last year, but at times it wasn't good, and it's not a great start to the season this year when you get hit for 150 to start the season against a team that's obviously more passing than running. With Brady and Mike Evans, Chris Godwin played like a half. They have Julio Jones now, so they're obviously more of a passing team than a running team, and we got killed like that on the ground. So that was probably the only blemish the defense had, but all in all, the defense did play a really good game, and it was the offense's fault in this one for sure. And one more thing I'll touch on, which, was a reason as to why we couldn't really move the ball. Not just the offense and guys not getting open and no protection, but again, it was a problem last year, and it was a problem with the first preseason game, which I did make a video on and I talked about, was penalties. I mean, that can't be a thing anymore. I'll look at how many exactly we had. We had 10 penalties for 73 yards. That just can't happen. You can't have 10 penalties. And we led the league in penalties last year. That can't be the case this year. You can't do that because every single drive we had, it's 1st and 15. It's 1st and 20. It's 2nd and 15. It's, we had an 8-yard run. It's coming back as a holding. We'd false start. Okay, we'll move back 5 yards. It can't happen. We had 3 false starts on Terrence Steele. We had a couple holding calls. The rookie Tyler Smith, I thought he played a really good game. I'm not going to talk bad about him, but I know he did have a penalty. CeeDee Lamb had a pass interference on like a 10-yard, 12-yard catch. Like, it seems like the penalties always happen when we have a big play too. It's like, we just got a first down. We just had a big run on first down. Penalty, it's coming back. So that needs to be cleaned up. I don't understand how that's still a problem, to be honest. Again, it's just crazy. Like, I watched every single game this weekend, and you just don't see that. You just don't see the amount of penalties that we do and how badly it can kill you. And it does. It killed us last year, and it's already killing us so far this year because you start every drive 1st and 15. A 5-yard run takes you back to 2nd and 10. So you basically just didn't do anything on first down, and you're 2nd and 10 already. That's basically what happens. So instead of being 1st and 10, now you're 2nd and 5. Now you can run the ball again. You can pass the ball. Even if it's 3rd down and 5, you have so many options still. It's obviously very manageable to get that. So just a lot of problems with the penalties. That's team discipline. That comes from up top. That comes from the head coach, which he'll be gone. I don't know if they'd fire him mid-season or not, but I don't think they do that. They're not like the type of team to do that, but he'll be gone at the end of the year. No doubt about it. Even if they can rally, make the playoffs, win the division, whatever, he'll be gone. I think the only way he wouldn't be gone is if, even reaching an NFC Championship game, I still think he'd be gone. And again, they're not going to come close to that, so you don't even have to worry about it. It's not even an option. So he'll be gone. Sean Payton hopefully should, whatever word you want to say, is the coach of the Dallas Cowboys going to next season. I hope that very much. It seems like that's the way he's going to go. He's obviously doing TV this year. Still, the reason that he couldn't be the coach this year is that he's technically still under contract with the Saints, but that expires at the end of this year. So you don't have to give up, draft compensation for him. You can just hire him as your head coach if you want to. Obviously, he's always wanted to coach the Dallas Cowboys. He never really got his shot when he left as an assistant, and he went to the Saints, and obviously turned into the Hall of Fame coach that he is. But it's a match made in heaven, to be honest. That's the coach that you need for this team. He's such a pro. He knows exactly what he's doing with an offense, and he knows how to lead a team as well. So if we don't have Sean Payton as our head coach at going into next season, I'll be severely disappointed, to be honest. I don't know another coaching candidate who would be out there that I would like. I would like no one more than him, but even like in a second place guy, I don't even know if I'd like that. And if he were to be our head coach, I don't know who that guy would be, but I wouldn't want. I just want Sean Payton, to be honest. That's what I want. I want Sean Payton coaching the Dallas Cowboys for 2023 and hopefully beyond that too. But we'll have to see what happens. Like I said, we talked about the game right now. The biggest takeaways are penalties need to be cut down, and I think we should run the ball more. I think that's definitely the biggest thing. Like I said, we play Cincinnati next week. They're a decent defense. They're definitely not bad, but I think if we can establish the run early, it opens up rush, passing the ball, play action. I think Schultz is gonna have to be huge for us these next couple weeks. In middle of the field catches, those 10 to 12 yard passes that he always gets. Like he's gonna need to keep connecting on those. Rush is gonna have to trust this offensive line to possibly hold up. We'll see. The Bengals have a decent pass rush, so hopefully they can hold up. And CeeDee Lamb, he needs to step up. He needs to be a wide receiver 1 for this team. He needs to get open. He needs to want the ball. He needs to make catches. That's a big thing. He has too many drops. He needs to make catches. And I think we just need a whole change of our offense. I think, like I said, run the ball, go ground and pound. I think it'll work out way better than anything we've been trying to do or are going to try to do for this upcoming week and these next upcoming weeks until Dak does come back. But going to next week in Cincinnati, I'm not confident. I mean, how can you be? Especially because the Bengals lost at home to Pittsburgh. They're not going to want to start 0-2. So, it's not looking great right now. I think if the defense plays another great game like they did and the running game is working for us, then potentially we could win this game. But truly, I don't see us winning this game. I see us starting 0-2, going to play the Giants in New York week 3, which I will be at that game actually. Monday night game, I will be there. But yeah, I think we start 0-2, unfortunately. But hopefully I'm wrong. I want to be wrong so bad because I want to be doing another video like this where it's more mistakes and more bad things and everything like that. But I see it going that way, like I said, unfortunately. But I'll be back next week, around this time. Another video will be out talking about week 2. And like I said, hopefully that's a win against the Bengals. That'd be great. It'd be 1-1 going against the Giants. The Giants won week 1 against Tennessee, but I still don't think they're that good of a team, to be honest. So if you were 1-1, you go in there, I think you could go 2-1. That'd be huge if we could be 2-1 after week 3. But it starts with this week. You have to win this week. Again, at home again, 4:25 start. Obviously, I'll be watching. And like I said, I'll be back next week with another episode recapping the week 2 performance. And yeah, I'll see you then. Thanks for listening.